All right, we are on Block 11 for Operation Chimera. We're coming towards the end of the Block of Nations missions. In fact, we're just a few missions away from completing Operation Chimera. Two of the block missions that are standing in our way are Block 11, which is what we're doing here, and Block 13. They both have a primary condition of 6 kills, and in the case of Block 11, which is what we're doing here, you need to get 3k damage to the secondary. Now, I intentionally did not intend to do the secondary in this match. 3k damage at tier 7 is a pretty tall order, particularly for this tank, because this is a tank that is very low alpha. I think the alpha is like 110 or something like that, maybe 120 on this gun. And I chose this tank specifically, okay? When I was looking through the tech tree and all of the tanks that I have to get this particular mission done, which I intentionally saved towards the end of the block of missions, I realized that I actually had most of the tanks that I thought would get this done. And, a very short list of tanks: Scorpion G, the Tier 8 German premium TD, the Rumby, the Borsig, which is the Tier 8 German TD, the Waffle, the Tier 9 German TD, and the Grill. Those are the tanks that came to mind in getting that done, because those are all very high alpha tanks. But what I realized in going back and looking at my stats of those tanks, and this is something that I do for all of the missions, not just this particular mission. Looking back at the stats, the number of top guns that I got in those tanks was actually relatively low. In fact, my average was something like a Top Gun award one every probably 150 matches or so across all of my tanks. And maybe it's about 1 in 100 or something like that for the German TDs that I talked about. And so I thought maybe there was an easier way to get this done. And so when I realized that the Panther M10, a tank that I never owned before doing these missions, was a preferred matchmaking tank, I said, I think actually this might be the right path, because it's tier 7. So you get a match like this where you have tier 5s to face. And if you've seen my other missions where you have to do kills to complete the mission, I tend to like to do those in high alpha tanks. But the rate of fire in DPM of this tank is so high, and the mobility is pretty decent. I think it can make up for the lack of high alpha. And you can see that here, where I already have 5 of the 6 kills that I need. In fact, I got 4 of the kills in the first 3.5 minutes of the match. So this is actually a really good tank for this, and I'll probably do Block 13 in this tank as well, or at least attempt to. I'm sort of alternating between this and the Scorpion G and a couple of the other German TDs to get this mission done. But the real key here is you have to be keeping up with the front lines. You don't necessarily need to be the front line yourself, although in this case I really am, because I'm out in front of the entire team, and that I sort of rushed towards the end to get that 6 kill, and it almost cost me the match, but we got it. But you have to keep up with those front lines. If the front lines are moving, you need to be there, because your goal here is to see a tank that is within your alpha range of killing them and get a shot off. And if you're behind the lines and you've got a bunch of guys in front of you, they're going to steal that kill, which is one of the reasons that I like to do this in high alpha tanks. So if you don't have the Panther M10, don't worry about it. Use the German TDs. I think they're perfectly good for this. They all have great alpha for their tier. They're all fantastic tanks in their own right. But I picked up the M10 specifically for this mission, looking at all the other tanks, looking at my performance in the German TDs, and I do love those tanks. In fact, I have from tier 8 above, I have all of the German TDs as well as the Scorpion G, so they're all fine tanks to do this in. But I felt that the Panther M10 would be the ideal tank to get this done in as few matches as possible, and it turned out to be the case. The other thing is, for this particular mission, given how rare Top Gun is for me personally,
I'm running food in my tank and I'm running gold in my tank. We're coming towards the end of Operation Chimera. I really don't want to futz around with bounces or stuff like that. I want to get as many pens in as possible to get these missions done. So I'm running gold and food in this tank to make sure that I have accuracy from the crew. I'm going to pen whatever I hit, and I'm just going to have that little edge that's going to get me a little closer to Top Gun. And you can see here, coming towards the end of this, get the 8th kill there, and I think I pull off a 9th kill right here. So that is Block 10 for Block 11, sorry, for Operation Chimera. So I think the biggest thing for this particular mission, and Top Gun medals are not very common for me, just because of my play style. I'd rather do damage than steal kills. And so I typically play a more supporting role unless I'm in heavies, and then you're not going to get a lot of kills in heavies typically anyways. But you have to move with the front lines. If you see mediums in front of you or faster tanks in front of you, and they're up there and they're not getting shot and they haven't spotted anything, you need to move up. That doesn't mean you need to be suicidal in your tank, but you need to move with that front line. So you're keeping up with them, and they're not going to just steamroll whatever's in front of them, and you're left in the dust. The second thing is you need to know what your alpha is. Always be thinking, what is my alpha relative to the HP pool that the enemy has left, as well as relative to the alpha of the friendly tanks around me. Because if you take a shot and you put that tank within a one-shot range of one of the friendly tanks around you, they're going to steal your kill. So just be aware of what your alpha is, what your friendly's alpha is, and what your reload is compared to theirs. You don't want people stealing your kills. And gold rounds and food. We're near the end of this. You can spend a little credits to get this done. This is a great mission to spend credits on because it's probably one of the more difficult and time-consuming missions to get done unless you're a super elite player, which I'm certainly not. I'm just an average player in World of Tanks. So run that gold, ammo, run food, whatever you need to do to get the mission done. Just run it in your tank, and you'll knock this out in hopefully as few missions as possible. I'll see you on the next one, guys. Good luck.